play Florida too, simply because of the rivalry factor. I think it'd be a lot of fun to get the chance to play against a team that everyone here in Knoxville truly does have a lot of hatred for, as well as just the fact that Texas A&M, they've been pitching the lights out so far in Omaha. I believe they've only allowed 3 runs so far. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they've had a wonderful pitching campaign here in Omaha. And as hot as the Vols' bats are, I wouldn't worry about it a ton if they play us. But Florida is definitely the weaker looking of these two teams so far. What do you guys think we're going to have to do in order to beat these two teams? Whichever one it ends up being, what are their strengths and weaknesses for you guys?
Well, we got to play like we did today. I mean, that's the bottom line. Just flat out and simple. We played great today. I mean, sure there were a couple of mistakes in there, but you're not perfect. But at the end of the day, if we go out there and we hit like we did today, I mean, sure there were a couple of Florida State errors. We can talk about that and say, oh, Florida State was making sloppy plays out there. But we put on a great performance. Nonetheless. And so if we can go out there, Xander Sechrist was phenomenal. If we can pitch like we did today, if we can get, I don't even, do we put Xander Sechrist back out there? Is he tired? I don't know. Do we put him out there? That would be a great question. I'd love to see him pitch like he did today. Somebody else that really kind of packed a punch like he did would be phenomenal. And again, hitting and batting. I mean, if our bats are heavy, I mean, that's another great key to our game for sure.
I'm going to be honest. My Wi-Fi just laid an egg just a second ago, so I missed all of what you said. So I'm not exactly sure what you said our keys are, but something tells me it was something along the lines of pitching. Am I wrong?
No, you got it.
And I gotta share that same sentiment with you. I don't know exactly what you said, but I mean, we should have lost that game 1 against Florida State due to some poor, defensive errors, not even really the pitching side of it all. It was just the defense just decided to have these fatal errors like Blake Burke's missed, scoop of the ball at first or, drop balls. But anyways, if this team can hold, I believe the magic number, I'm going to put it at 5 runs. I think you can count on Tennessee's offense to score 5 runs in any game when they need it, because they've got that X factor to clutch up and do it. So if your pitching staff can just hold the fort down, they don't have to be superb. And speaking of Sechrist, he was superb today. Absolutely amazing. Lights out. I mean, every time you thought that Florida State was going to fight back into this game, there was either a fantastic catch by Dreiling at the wall or a fantastic catch by Tears at the wall. There was always something that the Tennessee defense would do to just snuff out any chance of a comeback. So, I mean, it all comes down to that side of the ball. And they say in football, defense wins championships. I guess it does in baseball too.
No doubt about it. I really liked the pitching we saw from Sechrist as well, and getting some good pitching would be absolutely huge from the Vols. And I agree with you guys. That's going to be the key here, the linchpin for the Vols to win the chip, because we know their bats can do it. It's never really been a question about that. It's been the times where we've had to pitch by committee, and there's been a lot of guys rotating in and out of that starting slot, as well as just different guys from the bullpen. A little bit of inconsistencies there, but a big outing from our starter has been key in our success recently. Xander Sechrist, obviously today, but really in most of the games he's pitched, he's looked great here at the end of the season. I'm really impressed with his stuff, just dealing with the breaking ball and absolutely making some guys look silly on the whiffs there. But beyond that, I really think that with the draw, it's going to be a really interesting matchup if we play against Texas A&M. I'm excited to see what our pitching staff would be able to do against them and what we'd be able to do against their own pitching staff. But anyways, excuse me. What does getting to this national championship mean to this program as a whole? Just knowing this tortured fan base of the Tennessee Volunteers that has been tortured for many, many years now. A huge drought in big national titles. What would this one mean to you guys as students? What would it mean to the program?
This feels like the pinnacle of a battle that Tony Vitello has brought to the Tennessee baseball program in the honestly few short years in the retrospect that he's been here. I mean, this has been this has been years in coming, and it came at a year that, wasn't really advertised as the year. Last year was the year with that team that fell in Omaha, or the year before was the year with the Notre Dame fiasco. That was 2 years ago, not last year, right? I'm pretty sure. But anyways, it was the teams of old. We missed our chance and we needed to rebuild for a minute. But no, this team said, this is the Tennessee program that we have grown into. And the old guys that have stayed through, and then the new transfer portal guys that have come in and made an impact immediately. This feels like a team of destiny almost, a team that has been waiting for their moment to come out of the shadow and prove to a Tennessee fan base that, I'll be honest, I mean, it's tough to be a Tennessee fan. If this can happen, then it's finally, hey, at least we've got baseball, and at least we've got a national championship, and this can silence some of the terrible haters that you see on Twitter or on social media where it's, well, Tennessee's got 0 national championships in the past, however so many in anything. This means so much to this program, and that's obviously without being said.
For sure. I mean, you can look, this has been years in the making, like you said, Alex. We've had, and this isn't even, this wasn't even, like you said, the advertised year. But what I want to talk about is how much this means to not only Tony Vitello, but the players on the team. This team has been unbelievable with their chemistry. They're so well bonded. They have such a great relationship with each other. It's all just trust. They trust each other. They want it. They you look at the past 2 games we played. We have guys diving headfirst into the wall. I mean, this means so much to them as much as it does to our fan base and even Tony Vitello. And so it'd just be fantastic because they've worked so hard. They've worked on everything. And we can look at generations of Vol fans that have been waiting for this to happen for us.
And we now have Allie on the show. How are you doing tonight, Allie Seaton?
I'm doing pretty good. I didn't realize what time it was because I'm in Memphis, and I was like, 6 p.m. I have another hour, and then I saw the text.
You're on God's time now, Allie. Don't worry about it. You're on God's time.
What?
Central time is the best time zone. I'm from Central time, and it's God's time zone. That's what people call it.
I lived in Central time for a year, and I hated it.
Yeah, I don't rock with Central time personally, I gotta say.
Yeah, it's kind of throwing me off, but also like I've been on a plane all day, so I'm a little. But no, dude, I've been sitting here in my hotel room. I got back from like my one little errand. Memphis is kind of scary, can't lie.
No.
Anyways, first thing I did as soon as I got back was throw on the game, and I'm honestly so proud. They came out of the gate strong. Each inning, they performed fairly well. I know we had a few that were kind of lulling, but Christian Moore body slamming the wall. Let me tell you, these boys will die for the team. I don't know exactly what you guys have talked about because I have missed a little bit.
That's just what Luke was saying, is that this team is just on another level. They will put their lives on the line to win this
sorry,
thing.
I was trying to text y'all being like, let me in.
Yeah, you'll have to forgive me on that one. I didn't have as much time to set up as usual, but yeah, we were talking about obviously the big win with Vol baseball, huge for us. We went over our initial reactions, and we'll throw this one to you real quick before we get into what we were just talking about. Who do you want to play out of Texas A&M and Florida?
Haven't we already beaten both? Or am I wrong?
Dead on.
You got it. Yep.
Okay, well, you guys have to forgive me. I'm not the most well-informed when it comes to Vol baseball because the entirety of the regular season I was covering softball. Honestly, I think I would. I know like A&M is probably more likely. I just
A&M's been dominating their side of the bracket.
Yeah,
for sure.
So like obviously we want Florida.
Yeah, I mean, you're not
that's what
wrong.
me and Alex said.
Yeah, no, we definitely want Florida. Texas A&M just absolutely dealing from the mound. But we were just talking about too what this win and going to the national championship in one of the major sports, a spot we've never been in a spot we haven't been in many years, almost feels like an eternity. What does that mean to us as students and as a program for this team? We already heard from our boys. Let's hear from the lady.
Listen, it's a really, really big deal to me. let me turn this off. Sorry. It's just such a big deal to me because this is my last student. Like, this is my last year as an undergraduate student because I graduate in December. I am just, if they can do this, if they become the World Series champions, I would lose my mind. I would be crying. When is it taking place? Friday,
Saturday, Sunday.
Great. So I won't be able to watch it. Cool.
Oh, no.
I'm here for work. I'm not here for fun. But honestly, I think I would just lose my entire mind. It would probably be the proudest I've ever been of any Vol team because not only have they shown how much they care, they show how much it's worth it to them. And clearly they care about their fan base as well, because if it weren't for a fan base behind them, like, what's the real point, in my opinion?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because if you don't have people behind you, like, you're not as motivated to do things. And I think they just know how much we all care and want this.
For sure. And with that, just going on my tangent on why this means so much as a UT student and what it means for the program, it's truly incredible that it's the baseball team doing this. I mean, 10 years ago, UT baseball, no one even knew we had a baseball team on campus. Just about. We were that bad. We were that mediocre. Tony Vitello comes in, revitalizes the whole thing. All of a sudden, Tennessee baseball is a trademark for the school. It is something that is truly special to the students, truly special to the alumni, and everyone in Knoxville. It's been really interesting to watch the shift since I've gotten here as a student, with the initial hype, even of freshman year, and going into school here and being like, hey, we got a baseball team that we care about. This is pretty cool. And just each year it's ramped up more and more and more. Lindsey Nelson's getting bigger. It's becoming more well-known. We're a national brand. It's so fitting that it's baseball that we have this opportunity in, because I don't think there's a team on this campus that represents East Tennessee as much as Tennessee baseball. I mean, you have Tony Vitello, absolute sweetheart, but he's a little rough around the edges. He fights for his guys. He is an East Tennessean at heart. I mean, you can't script it any better. And this team, their attitude, they don't care for outsiders, but if you're a part of us, they love you. I can't think of a more perfect team to win this thing.
That's such a true statement right there. We've been marketed as the villains in the past, where nobody likes us. It's either we're the dark side of it all. And now it's like, you're either with us or you ain't with us. And that's it. But I went back and researched Dom. We've only played A&M once, and we played them at the SEC tournament. That's the one we all remember. And we won 7-4. But we did play a series against Florida way back in May, and we took the series 2-1. We won the first game 6-2, lost the second one 3-4, and won the third one 16-3. So we can score runs against this Florida team, and I wonder if Jack Caglione pitched that middle game of the series, because he's their star player. He's like the Shohei Ohtani of baseball in college.
I was about to say the Shohei Ohtani of baseball. I think we already got that one. But yes, no, I mean, the SEC is just loaded with talent. So to be perfectly honest, I'm really not that worried heading into things, because the ACC, that was a different challenge. And the Vols have, in the past, we've really notoriously struggled against specifically slow throwing lefties. But when we're in the SEC, we do really well because we're used to the velocity of the pitchers. We're used to the breaking stuff. When you play in a conference that's at genuinely a higher level than just about all of them, it's sometimes you're playing a little bit down when you're playing against other teams, and it's hard to figure out how to match up against them. Not to say that Florida State and UNC weren't great teams. They truly were this year. But the SEC undoubtedly remains different. Any final thoughts from you guys on this baseball team going forward, just what we want to see in this final?
We can win the Jello shot now, maybe.
Dude, that's been insane to watch.
It has
numbers
been.
are just rolling up. I mean,
was that
Weigels
true?
No,
that was fake.
I saw it before I boarded a plane, and then I lost service. I was like, "Is this real?"
I want to know how LSU got so many more than anybody else. That's my question.
Well, Texas A&M has really rose up
like
the ranks
donors
too.
And stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we're at like 10K, and Texas A&M is at like 9 now, and we were up by a couple of thousand just like a day ago. It's crazy. I mean, you got to think about how many kids are coming in there to rise up like 2,000 in a day. That's insane for a fan base.
Also, I don't know if you guys saw it. There was this girl on Twitter who was sharing that she was like, I want everyone to Venmo me $5. All this money is going towards the shot. And she raised like $2,000 worth of shots.
Holy smokes. Wow.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
Like when
how do we know she's even
you don't take
buying the
competition
shots?
lightly.
True. Yeah.
Also, I will say I got yelled at in the airport several times because I'm wearing a Tennessee. I'm not going to show the rest of it, but I'm wearing a Tennessee sweatshirt, and people were like, "Go Vols, go Vols! Onward to Omaha!" And I'm like,
That's right.
I'm in Omaha, but cool.
There's nothing more fun than wearing Vols gear at the airport. One time when I was coming back home to Boise from Knoxville, a woman in the Boise airport, it was like right after we beat Bama. She's wearing a Bama sweatshirt. I said, "Go Vols!" Got him pretty good there. That
in
felt
Boise.
really nice.
In
Yes.
Boise. That's why being a Tennessee fan and part of the fan base is so endearing, because it doesn't matter where you are on the face of the planet Earth.
You
If
just
you
hate
have
it.
Tennessee gear on and you look at each other, it's like, go Vols. You just got it. Like, you have that connection.
Also,
Absolutely.
the
Let me tell you
Alabama
this.
people, they'll look at you and they're like,
We hate you.
Oh yeah.
Let me tell you this. I was golfing today and I was wearing a UT polo, and this guy walked by me and he's like, "With that shirt on, I bet you're 15 under today." And I was like, "No, I am probably 30 over, but I appreciate it." Anyway, and they're everywhere. You're exactly right, Alex. They're everywhere.
Yeah, with that, we'll wrap up this first segment here. Onward to the next, we will have the NBA talking about the unfortunate Boston Celtics victory. They now lead the entire NBA in championships won. I'm going to cry about that on the other end of this little break here. You're listening to Volunteer Radio, WUTK 90.3 The Rock.
Hi, this is William Shatner on 90.3 The Rock.
90.3 The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department for their support. The 2024 football Vols will play home games inside Neyland Stadium against SEC rivals Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, and others. AllVols.com for info with a link at WTKRadio.com. UT student ticket info at BigOrangeTix.UTK.edu. 90.3 The Rock says, go Vols.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Volunteer Radio thanks the Knoxville Ice Bears professional hockey team for their support. The Ice Bears will hold a press conference to announce their new coach as well as a home and away jersey reveal this Friday, June 21st at 2 p.m. at the Knoxville Civic Auditorium downtown. They will then hold a meet and greet with the new coach and others at 6 p.m. at Fieldhouse Social Friday night. KnoxvilleIceBears.com.
This is Lee Ronaldo from Sonic Youth. You're listening to 90.3 The Rock, Knoxville's home for classic alternatives. So turn it up real loud, why don't you?
Knoxville, be sure to tune in Wednesday nights from 8 until 10 for The Alternative, featuring 2 hours of the best in Americana music from the station that first brought Knoxville music by bands from back in the alt country days, like Green on Red, the Blasters, the Jayhawks, Uncle Tupelo and Jason and the Scorchers, to 90s Americana like the B-Boys, Whiskey Count, Gillian Welch, Wilco, and others, to modern-day Americana musicians like Margot Price, Zach Bryan, Tyler Childers, Turnpike Troubadours, and Charlie Crockett. You'll also get classic Americana like Lucinda Williams, the Flying Burrito Brothers, and the Byrds. And there's local Americana by R.B. Norris, Cruz Contreras, Trisha Jean Brady, Adim the Artist, and others. There's always Patsy Cline at 9 and chances to win Bliss gift cards and passes to upcoming Americana concerts in the area. So, if Americana music makes your musical clock tick-tock, tune in Wednesday nights at 8 for The Alternative. Sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill, Bliss, and Bliss Home. And only on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Volunteer Radio receives support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs. This 2024 regular season schedule features 6-game home series, Tuesday through Sundays, now in September at Smoky Stadium in Kodak. WTK's Rock Solid Sports will have weekly Smokies updates. TheSmokiesBaseball.com and the link is at WTKRadio.com.
Welcome in the only sports show in Knoxville with the home field advantage. You were listening to Rock Solid Sports, presented by 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock. Here's tonight's host.
Welcome back to WUTK's Rock Solid Sports. We got lots of fun stuff to talk about right about now. What do we want to talk about? We want to talk about the NBA, don't we? The finals just wrapped up. A solemn finals where tragically the evil empire, the worst people on the planet, Boston sports fans, they get their longest championship drought since the 80s. And it was I don't even think it was 9 years. I think it was like 8 years. Evil wins again. What are your guys' initial reactions to the Celtics defeating the Mavericks in the NBA Finals?
I think the NBA is terrible. I think I'm slowly coming to that conclusion. I used to love the NBA. I loved the Grizzlies, the grit and grind era of the Grizzlies with Zebo, Marc Gasol, Conley. These guys were my heroes growing up. I'd go to Memphis to watch them. And then they fell off when we got bad. And then John Morant came to town and I got back into it. So these past couple of years I've been, following the Grizzlies. I even got my granddad to watch the Grizzlies now. And he is not your typical NBA demographic. But anyways, this final was just blah. And it feels like the past couple of finals have been that way. The whole NBA playoffs, honestly, besides from, one or two series, it felt like the Pacers series against the Celtics was a better series than this one. You've got the Mavericks who just could not hold a candle to, as you said, the evil empire. I cannot stand Boston. I saw a clip of the guys from Barstool who were Boston fans celebrating, and I swear, and I saw the clips of people like, I celebrate first downs harder than that as a Bears fan. And I'm like, literally, they literally won the whole thing, and they're like just dapping each other like, hey, good job. Hey, we won. Yay, everybody, we're world champions. I would be on the ground in tears if my team ever won something. If I get to see Tennessee baseball, and I will be on the ground in tears. That's my piece.
Well, I got to agree with you, Alex. I've honestly never really liked the NBA. I'll watch the playoffs. I watch the finals, but I was never the guy to be watching the regular season. I think it's just I'm more of a college guy. I think NBA, they just chuck up threes and barely play defense. I don't know. It was just never really up my alley. But I think the story of this series was that Luka he needed help. He didn't have a whole lot of help, if any at all, throughout these games. And the one game that they won was Kyrie Irving helping him out. He scored a lot of points with him. But the story of it was that Luka really was struggling alone on the Mavs. And we look at the evil empire. We look at the Celtics. They've got superstars throughout the entire team. They've got Jrue Holiday sitting on the bench. And so obviously, the sixth man, he's obviously coming off the bench. But you know what I'm trying to say. They've got star-studded, just all over their lineup. And so they, again, like Alex said, they don't hold a candle to the Mavs.
Well, I'm with you, Luke. I don't watch the regular season. We know that I'm the candid of I'm consistently I have no idea what's really going on. I will say though, when they made me pick the last time I was on, I said the Celtics because I liked their colors.
Hot take.
Ooh.
Hot take right there.
Hot take.
That was a boldy pick right there.
We can be a little bit happy. Jaden Springer, I believe it was, VFL. He's now got a ring, so
there we go.
Yeah, we can. There's a little bit of joy behind it, but honestly, I watched a little bit of it. I do have a coworker at my serving job who, as soon as whenever we were watching, was running around. The Celtics were playing, and he was screaming, celebrating. There were still customers in the restaurant.
I feel like ESPN has just completely murdered the NBA
I just don't like
presentation.
watching it. It feels like there's not as much passion behind it.
Let's get into that, Alex, because I feel like this has been a common point of discourse on Twitter, is that the NBA Finals has quote unquote lost its aura. And what it really comes down to, at least from my perspective, because you look at all these old clips of guys, like there's that one of Bob Costas going around doing beautiful storytelling right before, I believe it was the 97 finals with Michael Jordan and just everything that was on the line for him. And we don't get that in the NBA anymore. We get former players cracking jokes and being jealous the entire time. I love the NBA on TNT. Those guys do a perfect job and they do their job well, but they don't have anything to balance them right now. I mean, we've lost a lot of really good announcers through the years, and just the main issue is sports as a whole is starting to get clogged with former athletes as commentators, which, you know, obviously as a journalism student, that's going to make me a little upset wanting to break into this industry. But regardless of that point, there's guys who've worked their whole lives to build the stories to make these athletes. And then there's these athletes who can be absolutely phenomenal color guys and give that great color commentary to add on to what the main guy is doing. But there's not storytellers anymore because they're focusing more on putting a name out there and hoping that name draws people in instead of putting out a perfect product and hoping that that product draws people in.
That's so true, because you think about it, you know, I believe a journalism student, a commentator, a play-by-play commentator's job is to tell the stories, is to create the storylines and build the tension. When you watch the NBA or any sport for that matter, you can tell when a commentator is doing a good job because the moment is bigger than life. You can close your eyes and feel the tension without even having to watch it. And having that color commentary, every good former athlete needs that professional, you know, tenured play-by-play person. You know, Tony Romo has Jim Nantz, and that's a perfect medium. Kirk Herbstreit has Chris Fowler. They work perfectly together, and there's so many of these different things that I wish I could say off the top of my head, but I do not know it. But there has to be that storytelling again, and we're losing it, and it's becoming just entertainment and flashpoint, big, you know, beautiful headlines. We need the headlines. We need to pull the viewers in, and, you know, just like it's like short form content. That's what I think it's turning to.
I completely agree. I mean, you can look back. This is not really a new development, obviously, having players coming into the broadcasting. You can look back in the 80s, and there's guys like Terry Bradshaw coming in and trying to broadcast. But the thing was that they had a play-by-play guy to balance them out. So when, you know, Terry Bradshaw or whoever's coming into the booth, I know we're talking NBA here, but whoever's coming into the booth, you know, maybe they don't have the right words for that moment. You have a guy with experience. You have a play-by-play guy to exactly right, inspire and tell that story that maybe you know, the former athlete is not doing a great job of telling. He's there to explain what's happening on the field. He's not there to captivate you. And so when we have this influx of guys coming in that are there, you know, explaining what's going on and saying, "Oh, well, I played against him. Here's what he did," you know. They're not captivating people like they have in the past, and that might be the problem with the NBA losing its aura. The NBA Finals is that, you know, and I think that there was just more magic. I don't know if this is the right word, but there was more magic. You can look back in the 90s and obviously Michael Jordan and that, you know, the Jazz. Just there was a lot more. I don't know what I'm trying to say. A lot more power to the finals that I feel like we don't have these days.
Absolutely.
I mean, as someone,
you go ahead.
like I said, when I turn on the NBA, it doesn't entice me as much. As someone, if I like put on like a UT game or any other collegiate basketball game, I'm more likely to stay and continue to watch just because they do so much better at the commentating and creating excitement through the TV. As a whole, I don't like that there are mostly just athletes that pull in their past experiences, which at times could be great, but once, as Dom said, as a journalism student, it's kind of upsetting. Do I want to do play-by-play or commentary? No. But there's also not really like a hole as a woman for me to go into anyways. It's mostly men. Not bothered by that. I just don't like how there's not as much passion or excitement, because even the commentators in the past, like, they had the energy behind it, the excitement for the players. And I just feel like as y'all said, the magic is kind of gone.
Certainly. And you don't really have to look far as a Tennessee fan when it comes to great play-by-play. I mean, John Ward, legend of this campus, just beautiful radio play-by-play. And he was someone who would draw you into it. And radio is obviously a very, very different medium. But even guys on TV from the Vols, we have Lindsey Nelson, who the stadium's named after. He was a wonderful TV commentator for the Mets for a long time. Just there's such a legacy in media that I feel is being entirely rejected in favor of just it's this thought that names will just bring in money. But getting back to the NBA and focusing more on that, let's just think about, what do the other teams have to do to compete with the Celtics? What are some potential moves that other teams can do in order to make it so that the Celtics don't have this much of a cakewalk, especially in the East? The East was a joke, and I would really, really like to see someone besides the Celtics come out of the East next year.
Don't you wish we could just take the NBA leagues and just shake them up and put maybe like some of the good teams on one side and some of the good teams on the other? Because the West is just no fair. Like, let the Grizzlies go be in the East, then they can go to the finals and play the Celtics. I mean, how were the Pacers the last line? Weren't they the last line of defense for? Were they in the finals? Am I being misled?
I believe
here?
they were in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, but I mean,
I do know the Celtics beat them, but regardless, they were the team that gave them the most trouble.
Yeah,
they're the Indiana Pacers. Like, come on.
The West has so many studs and star players at that, because I feel like that's kind of how the NBA works nowadays. Is you have your star players that you build around. I mean, Jokic, generational West guy. LeBron's in the West. Ja Morant. I'm sorry, I had to throw that one in there. Luka. And all these guys. The East, who do they have? You have Giannis. The Bucks could maybe, make a resurgence with Giannis. Who else does the Knicks? Will the Knicks ever be good? Do the Knicks have that star player? I don't know. Do they? What do we think? I'm not sure what the East has that in
Brunson.
Terms of.
Yeah, I was going to say Brunson for the Knicks, undoubtedly.
Undoubtedly Brunson, but would you put Brunson on the same level as, Giannis or? I mean, I don't. Is Jason Tatum a star?
I'd put him above Jason Tatum.
I don't know where I'd put Jason Tatum on the totem pole, though.
Nowhere.
Jason Tatum? Yeah, I totally agree with that. But I just wish we could reshuffle the NBA because it's such a wash.
Yeah, I think, I'm not the most educated on NBA. I'll put that out there right off the bat. But you got to bring in guys. If you're going to take down this Celtics team, you got to bring in more than just your star player. You can't have just the one. You got to bring in just multiple people. And it doesn't have to be all stars, but they got to be able to, make an impact. Okay. You just can't have one single guy or have a bunch of guys that are making impacts on their own, but they don't have to be all superstars. Just something so that the Celtics are not steamrolling anyone that walks in their place. That's my thing. That really bothered me looking at. You can look at the stat sheets for the Mavericks. He really doesn't have a whole lot of help. That's the thing that I keep going back to.
Yeah, looking at Luka, Kyrie just did not show up in the finals the way they needed him to. And it's kind of easy to know why, in terms of just the Celtics defense is pretty unreal. I mean, when you have for your guards, you have Derek White, Drew Holiday. I mean, those guys are going to clamp you down at defense. We saw the Derek White highlight block. And then, of course, everyone on that team can switch. Everyone can guard every position just about. I mean, even big old Al Horford, who's been in the league for what feels like a million years, he can still guard the one. He's not great at it, but he still can. And so that created a lot of issues, especially the way Luka plays basketball. He had to work extra hard because he is a matchup hunter. And trying to find a matchup on that Celtics team, who are you going to go to? Well, as Luka, who are you going to go to?
It's pick your poison, it feels like.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, too, the East, there are some teams there that I don't think need to change much to be able to compete with the Celtics. Injury problems were huge on the eastern side of the bracket. I mean, the Bucks, Damian Lillard and Giannis injuries, though I still think the Celtics would have won that series. That held them up a little bit. but the Bucks are missing that one more piece. And I mean, honestly, I think they were better with Drew Holiday than they are with Dame. I think losing him was terrible. I think the midseason coaching change was terrible. Just not a well-run organization over there in Milwaukee. But other teams too, like this, the Heat, that's another team you can mention for sure, because Jimmy Butler being out for that series changes everything. I mean, Jimmy Butler, Himmy Butler, Mr. Playoffs, as Matthew Slitsky would say. We all know him very well on here. He's a diehard Heat fan. The Heat would have given them a lot more trouble, and especially with the guys they have coming through their system, like Jaime Jaquez. Who knows who they'll draft this year that'll turn out to be a steal. Just great front office with Pat Riley. There's really a lot of teams that can give them trouble in the East. It's just a matter of you have to truly build a super team top to bottom, because the Celtics are deep. They are extremely deep. And that's the main issue. If you're going to beat the Celtics, you have to make sure that your bench comes to play too. You can't beat them with just a couple guys. So I don't know who's going to be able to do it next year, but I'm hoping to God they do not repeat. Looking around the league, though, we got a whole crop of free agents coming up. We got Tyrese Maxey, Paul George player option, Braun's got a player option, OG Anunoby, James Harden, and DeMar DeRozan, all potentially on the move. Who's the biggest to you out of those guys, and where do you see them landing?
I'm just going to go ahead and say I know nothing. Personality hire in this moment.
Well, I mean, off the bat, and again, very uneducated, but Braun. I mean, LeBron could be on the move here. Was that? Did I hear that correctly?
He's got a player option. He can if he wants to. And there's the whole drama with Bronny James.
Bronny James. Oh boy.
I mean, do you honestly think that? What bothers me is that I really don't think, like, to be honest, I don't think that Bronny deserves to be drafted. The whole thing is that LeBron will, is talking about going where his son will go. And so obviously teams are like, okay, let's draft Bronny. And, here comes LeBron. Does Bronny deserve to be drafted as high as he might be? Personally, I would say no. I don't think so. And that's something that bothers me. But, to see LeBron and his son play together would be phenomenal. That'd be an experience unlike any other. That'd be like Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr. playing together. Really, really cool.
Truth.
Absolutely.
I feel like DeMar DeRozan is an extremely underrated player in the NBA who has been a consistent force on any team he's been on for like every ounce of his career. I remember playing NBA 2K like 19 or 18 and him being a solid player. And now I play it this year and he's still a solid player. I mean, that just shows the testament of time to how long this guy's been a good piece on he's not your stud, I'd say, but he would be a great piece to a team in maybe the East that's trying to compete with this Celtics team, because you've got to build something. Somebody has to build something to beat them. But I'm more interested in the NBA draft when it gets started on June 26th and seeing how that's going to unfold, because this draft class is so strange, honestly. But I feel like this is kind of a weak free agency, and that's kind of crazy to say, honestly, with, you've got some of the big names, like I see you put Paul George on here, OG Anunoby, James Harden. Isn't it crazy to think that James Harden is just a shell of that absolutely insane player he used to be?
He's an old man.
Crazy. He's an old man with a big belly now.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely a weaker NBA free agent class, simply because we're kind of looking at the retirement home here. I mean, Paul George, he's getting up there. James Harden, of course, is getting up there. Braun, who knows how much he has left in the tank. But
how old is Braun now?
I think
Braun's got to be like pushing upper
40.
30s.
He's pushing 40. Like I think he's 37, 38.
39 years old.
Dang, even older than I thought.
He'll be 40 in December 30th.
That's incredible.
Do you think we're gonna see him play to like Tom Brady age, like mid 40s, or is he gonna give it up at some point?
He's talked about retirement somewhat. He's flirted with the idea. He's at least playing this next season, I know for sure, just because of Bronny. After that, unless he feels like there's a chance for him to win a championship, I think next year really, really could be his last year.
The glorious king.
Which that would be unreal. I mean, Braun's been playing basketball just about as long as I've been alive. Just truly a tour de force in this game. But with free agents, who I've got my eyes on the most are OG Anunoby and Tyrese Maxey, both young stars. And Maxey, I believe they're projecting he's going to stay in Philly, keep chasing rings with Joel Embiid, which I think is the right move for him. I think that their roster could be just a hair better constructed. They picked up a lot of vets that did make a difference, but it's a pretty old roster outside of Embiid and Maxey, and I think they need a little bit more life in it. As far as OG, I think the Knicks are going to resign him too. But if neither of these teams do, those are huge pickups for any team that's looking to build something into the future. Maybe an OKC team, or, well, OKC's already got their core, so that's not really going to happen unless they think they need to make some moves, and if they think Maxey's better than Shai, which he's not. But I could see my Utah Jazz. I could see him making a move for a guy like Maxey and potentially building something into the future if he were to make a move, but I don't think he'd go at any team that's not competing right now. However, with that, we've certainly talked a lot of NBA. We're going to go to a break. On the other side, we're talking a little bit about Lord Stanley and his cup and the MLB. Thank you for sticking around with us. Hope you stay for the last little segment coming up. You're listening to WTK's Rock Solid Sports on 90.3 The Rock.
Wayne Hancock, 90.3 The Rock, local music's best friend. And remember, if it ain't, we're going to come looking for you and break your damn hands.
Volunteer Radio receives support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs. This 2024 regular season schedule features 6-game home series, Tuesday through Sundays, now into September at Smoky Stadium in Kodak. WTK Rock Solid Sports will have weekly Smokies updates. This month, and a link is at WTKRadio.com.
Volunteer Radio receives support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2024 regular season schedule features games against Chattanooga, Birmingham, Rocket City, and others at Smoky Stadium in Kodak. The next homestand is versus Mississippi, Tuesday, June 18th through Sunday, June 23rd. SmokiesBaseball.com. WTK's Rock Solid Sports will keep you up to date with Smoky Baseball Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays at 7 p.m. TheSmokiesBaseball.com, and a link is at WTKRadio.com.
Rock Banks Fieldhouse Social. Wednesday home for Rock Solid Sports.
Yeah, feel free to.
What do you think about that game?
That was a fun one.
Did you watch it?
I did.
I got to listen to most of it on the radio. But...
Fieldhouse Social welcomes sports fans and others alike.
I
Enjoy
listen on the
dishes like
radio.
citrus marinated
Yeah, it's good for baseball.
grilled Faro Island stands and smoked ribs.
Seacrest, though. What a game.
Fieldhousesocial.com, on Twitter and Facebook.
Lights out. If we can
This
get
is Jeff Jarnigan, the voice inside Thompson
Probably
Bowling
ain't
Arena and
Thanks
Neyland
so.
Stadium.
Yeah. A&M's been pitching lights
90.3 The
out.
Rock is
So
streaming at
it'll be really interesting to see how our bats match
WTKRadio.com
up.
and
You're right
on
about that.
TuneIn.
I'm glad it's going to be an all SEC.
Yeah.
90.3 The Rock thanks to UT Athletic Department for their support. The 2024 football Vols will play home games inside Neyland Stadium against SEC rivals Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, and others. AllVols.com for info with a link at WTKRadio.com. UT student ticket info is at bigorangetickets.utk.edu. 90.3 The Rock says, go Vols.
Knoxville, be sure to tune in Wednesday nights from 8 until 10 for The Alternative, featuring 2 hours of the best in Americana music from the station that first brought Knoxville music by bands from back in the alt country days, like Green on Red, The Blasters, The Jayhawks, Uncle Tupelo and Jason and the Scorchers, to 90s Americana, like the B-Boys, Whiskey Town, Gillian Welch, Wilco, and others, to modern-day Americana musicians like Margot Price, Zach Bryan, Tyler Childers, Turnpike Troubadours, and Charlie Crockett. You'll also get classic Americana like Lucinda Williams, the Flying Burrito Brothers, and the Birds. And there's local Americana by R.B. Norris, Cruz Contreras, Trisha Jean Brady, Adele the Artist, and others. There's always Patsy Cline at 9 and chances to win Bliss gift cards and passes to upcoming Americana concerts in the area. So, if Americana music makes your musical clock tick-tock, tune in Wednesday nights at 8 for The Alternative. Sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill, Bliss, and Bliss Home. And only on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Welcome back to WTK's Wednesday night edition of Rock Solid Sports, the loveliest little sports show in town. We got some beautiful people on today with us. We got our boys. We got our lovely lady. It's a lovely time here, as it always is, down here in the basement of Andy Holt Tower. We're talking about Lord Stanley now. Edmonton won Game 5 last night, now trails 3-2 after being down 3-0 against the Florida Panthers. Is there anything here? Is it possible for Edmonton to do the impossible?
Dom, you have no idea how badly I want this to happen. And honestly, for no other reason other than I want it to happen. I mean, I love hockey. I love the Stanley Cup. Now, there's a sport that has not lost its aura in the playoffs. Even if they took away the dadgum Stanley Cup playoff logo on the ice during the games, that was a bad move. But this is a sport that gets so good at this time of year. And the storylines are all there for this series. You've got the Panthers trying to win a cup. They got denied last year. I think it's their first cup ever, maybe. And you've got Edmonton, Canada, playing for Canada, the whole country trying to bring Lord Stanley back to the place where it all started. And you've got the hometown hero, not really hero, hometown, but Connor McDavid, I just love to watch him play, and he's gone insane. I know you want to mention that later on. But I want this series to go to 7 games, if just for the fact that I can say Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. That would be insane. But I think the fact that this is going back to Alberta with everything on the line, they're going to give their all, and Canada is going to rally, I hope, behind Edmonton. And I think that they can push a Game 7. I really do.
I would love to see it. I really would. I have this feeling that Florida's just going to squash it. They're going to get our hopes.
I know.
Up and
Me too. Me too.
I know. But I would love to see the Game 7 for sure. I mean, I'm not a big hockey fan or NBA. This is not my night. Like 2 for 3, 0 for whatever, you know. But
hey, if you go 1 for 3 in baseball, you're still batting 300.
1 for 3. That's what I was trying to say. But anyway, I would love to see the Game 7. But again, Connor McDavid, I do know that he has been an absolute unit for Edmonton. He has been the star of the league so far this season. But and Pat last year too. But Game 7 will be fantastic. I just have this inkling that they're just going to squash it next game. But, we'll see.
In Canada, too. That would be so nasty.
Yeah, that would be
I know the feeling.
As far as we're looking at it now, the only team in the history of the Stanley Cup Final to have ever successfully came back 3-0, 1942 Toronto Maple Leafs. I know you guys will remember that one. What a great series.
That was the best series on the face.
Just like it was yesterday, Dom. I mean,
yep. Well, I'm the old man here, so I do remember that one. But
You're not even that much older than
Mid-World War.
At least you don't have gray hairs.
Yep. I'm reaching unk status, as they say these days. But with everything that's gone on, with everything that's possible in this beautiful, lovely world, I think that our precious Edmonton Oilers can complete the comeback. Connor McDavid, a.k.a. Connor McJesus, he's that guy. He truly is. He's been that guy since he stepped into the league. Just truly a marvel with the puck. Can do it like no other. And, I mean, we got to talk about it. He's approaching a Gretzky record, which when you talk about hockey, Gretzky records are the equivalent of Wilt records. They're there and they're not meant to be broken. No one touches them. You just look at them, you sit and look, and they look pretty. Everybody's like, I wonder what hockey was like when Gretzky played. Or the old guys tell you how it was. But McDavid, 42 points in the playoffs, trails Wayno by 5. If we go 2 more games, he can do it. He can do it because
I think he has to do it if we go 2 more games. Like he will have to do it.
Yeah, because he really is the guy for this team that can do it. I mean, there's other great players on this Oilers team, but it is McDavid's team. There's no one like Connor McDavid. I mean, once in a generation player. I mean, he's up there with the likes of Sidney Crosby. He's up there with the likes of Mario Lemieux, up there with Gretzky now. I mean, literally up there with Gretzky, which is unreal. Just a wonderful time to be alive in hockey. And, I don't want to see another Florida Cup. It'd be really disappointing with all the Lightning's cups. And now with the Panthers potentially getting a cup. I don't like it one bit personally. Florida, you're a little spoiled when it comes to sports, and I don't like you. But first Canadian
Tell us how
Cup,
you really feel.
I tend to do so. First Canadian Cup win on the line since '93. What do you guys think this means for Canada, the home of hockey, maple syrup? I mean, it's the number one thing these guys are known for.
I wonder, and I listened to a podcast where they actually asked Paul Bissonnette this question. He's from Canada, and they asked him, is all of Canada behind the Edmonton Oilers? Like, you've got the Maple Leafs hate the Oilers. The Maple Leafs hate the Canadians. The Canadians hate everybody hates the Maple Leafs. It's like everybody hates everybody in Canada, even though they're the nicest people ever. But I want to believe in my Tennessee heart that the whole of Canada is like, you know what? The States have had the cup for a very long time. Maybe we should just get behind our actually one chance to do this and all root for Edmonton. Even after they win, we'll all hate each other afterwards. But I hope that they're all behind them.
I think it'd be massive. I mean, you look at the United States is like patriotism. Canada's got the same thing. It's just not talked about. They love Canada. They bleed red. I guess if that's the right thing to say. Even though
I think we all do.
Yeah, they bleed maple syrup. I like that.
Okay,
and Canadian bacon. Anyway, but this would mean a lot for them.
Bacon, they bleed that.
There we go.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, but this is something that the United States, Alex said it, has kind of we have a lot more teams than them. That's not out of the obvious, but they would love to bring it back there. They were kind of the start. What was it? The Montreal Canadiens? Isn't that like the oldest team in the league or something like that? They're really old.
I think the Blackhawks might be. I know there's the original 6 or 8. I can't remember.
It's like
6 or 8.
Bruins, some New York team.
Bruins, Blackhawks, Detroit,
Maple Leafs,
or not Oilers. The Canadians are one of them.
Yeah,
but there's a certain level of pedigree there for sure.
For sure, yeah. It's an old sport, and Canada would love to kind of bring that Stanley Cup back up there.
Yep, and we're not talking about the ones you see on UT's campus. But before we move on to baseball,
I just got that. That was a good one.
That went right over the head, dude.
I was like, what is he talking about?
You wouldn't get it, Luke. You wouldn't get it.
that one's for the girls. That one's for the girls. But
I'm a Yeti man.
Okay. I'm Hydro Flask till I die. Everyone picks their water bottle brand, and they stick with it for life.
Alex, what are you?
Yeti, all the way.
Yeah.
I like my Hydro Flask more than I like my Stanley.
Let's go.
I just don't know where my Hydro Flask is.
As long as y'all ain't Nalgene people. Nalgene people
I
get a
don't
little
know what that
freaky.
is.
I don't know what that is.
It's the plastic one.
I will say though, when it comes to baseball, I want to talk about the Braves.
Okay. Well, we're going right to baseball. I think we've said our piece about hockey. Talk about the Braves right away because I got nothing on the Braves.
All right, so pretty much right now when it comes to the Braves, they just beat the crap out of the Detroit Tigers. On Monday it was 1-2, then it was 1-2 on yesterday, and then today it was 0-7. So far this year, like this season, the Braves I think are doing really good. They're ranked second in the National League East, which banger. They're closest to me in Monroe County. They're obviously going to be closer to my favorites. I think they're just. I mean, I don't know.
But Acuna really hurts though. Losing him for the rest of the year, that's what stinks.
A lot.
Yeah.
Dom, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I want to know what your take is on. Do you think it's fair that for the Rookie of the Year, you can have these Japanese players who have played baseball for 10 years before they come to the league, be in the Rookie of the Year thing against people who are actually Rookies of the Year, like Mason Wynn, who was 14 years old when the Cubs' Shota Imagane started playing in 2016. Isn't that crazy to think about? That they're in the same Rookie of the Year category. I just wanted to throw that out there.
That's a good question. I didn't think about that.
It is crazy. And I've been on one side of this debate for sure because I'm a Utah Jazz fan. So when Donovan Mitchell was racing against Ben Simmons, I'm like, get this old man out of here. This is Donovan Mitchell's award. But for this particular case, I mean, anyone can be a rookie. I mean, there can be Americans who are rookies because they've been in the minor leagues for so long and come up when they're like 26 or whatever. They can win.
true.
So I don't necessarily it is on some levels unfair because Japanese professional baseball is pretty close to the MLB, a lot closer than a lot of people want to think. But still, the MLB is different, and doing well in your first year is remarkable. And I mean, talking about players who have been phenomenal right here before we have to end things so tragically, Stephen Kwan, ridiculous year for this guy from the Cleveland Guardians. No idea who this guy was before he started batting. 392, almost 400.
Man.
That you don't hear about that ever. I know it's early in the season, but dear Lord, 4 homers, 18 RBIs, 26-year-old outfielder for the Cleveland Guardians. Just very, very quickly. We don't have much time. Fluke or not?
Fluke. Just like Luis Uraz last year, he was batting 400 in July, and it fell off to bat 250. I'm going to go Fluke.
I'm going to go Fluke as well. I think baseball, I mean, it's such a mental game behind the plate. Just like that, you could drop so quick. I think it's a fluke. Could he bring it back? I mean, maybe. But right now, I'm going to say it's a fluke.
I'm going to say a fluke, just like you guys, but also because I was raised the Vol mentality. Just because things are going good right now does not mean they're going to stay good.
So true. So true.
I'm going to say it's a little fluky, but I think he's going to be good for the rest of his career. We wish you the best, Stephen Kwan. That'll be it for tonight. Thank you all so much for sticking around, having some fun with us. We love having you guys listen. Stick around. We got the alternative hour up next, and they know how to throw it down on the alternative. Stay tuned. You're listening to WTK 90.3, The Rock.
You are tuned to WUTK 90.3 FM, Knoxville, Tennessee. Proud to be Knoxville's musical tastemakers since 1982 and streaming 24/7 at WUTKradio.com.